I'd like to call to order the Municipality of Monroeville Citizens Night meeting for October 4th, 2018. It is 7:06 p.m. If you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All council members are in attendance other than Mrs. Gatos and Mr. Wilson. Council, we have our Citizens Night meeting and our agenda setting meeting. Your agenda in front of you, if you refer back to the third page, under the resolutions. Our first resolution, we have a resolution of approving the transfer of a restaurant liquor license number R10922 into the Municipality of Monroeville to Laxmi Naranya Corporation, located at 479 Broadway Boulevard. This is a public hearing item. We're going to move this item to the top of our meeting right now. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
If you could please step forward. This is being a public hearing item. Is there anyone that wishes to speak for or against this matter? If so, raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll proceed with the public hearing just for this item, and then we will move into our regular agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
He doesn't have one.
Sir, if you could just state your name for the record.
Gregory Zoller.
Welcome.
My name is Greg Zoller. I am the attorney for Laxmi Narnia Corporation. Mr. Barat, who is not here tonight, he had an emergency at his Johnstown location, which he could not make the attendance at tonight's meeting. On behalf of Laxmi Narnia Corporation, we are here tonight to request that the City of Monroeville approve a resolution permitting the intermunicipal transfer of a restaurant liquor license from outside the city to within it, pursuant to Revised Liquor Code Title 47, Section 461B3. The restaurant liquor license would be transferred to Laxmi Narnia Corporation for use in the new restaurant that is to be located at 479 Broadway Boulevard, Pitcairn, PA 15140. The Liquor Code permits the PLCB to approve the transfer of a license from any other municipality in Allegheny County to another municipality in Allegheny County, so as long as you, the receiving municipality, issue a resolution approving the transfer. The standard to be applied by the receiving municipality is contained in the Liquor Control Board's regulations, which states that the receiving municipality must approve the transfer unless it finds that doing so would adversely affect the health, welfare, peace, and morals of the municipality. With the passage of Act 39 that went into effect back on August 8, 2016, the legislature restated the purpose of the Liquor Code. According to the legislature, it is the purpose of this act to reform the system by which alcohol is dispensed and controlled within this Commonwealth, to reflect the changes in the marketplace while continuing to protect the welfare, health, peace, and morals of the citizens, and to provide for the operation of a retail system that promotes competition and convenience. Another big change that the legislature made to the Liquor Code under Act 39 is that now all restaurant licensees can apply for and obtain a wine expanded permit, which permits the licensee to be able to sell up to 4 750-milliliter bottles of wine to go. Prior to the passage of Act 39, restaurant licensees could only sell wine for on-premises consumption. Based on Laxmi Narnia Corporation's operating and business model, the transfer of this liquor license to Laxmi Narnia's restaurant facility will not affect the health, welfare, peace, and morals of the township or the city or its residents. In order for you to make a decision on our request, let me provide you with some background information on Laxmi Narnia Corporation. Laxmi Narnia Corporation has been in business for 14 years and has been a member of the City of Monroeville business community, serving the residents and the community of the City of Monroeville since January 2018 at its 479 Broadway Boulevard location. Currently, Laxmi Narnia Corporation leases the property from Nihar LLC, the owner of the property. Laxman Narnia Corporation operates 10 additional stores, which are located throughout Allegheny, Westmoreland, and Cambria counties, employing 55 individuals. Currently, Laxman Narnia Corporation employs 5 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee at its 479 Broadway Boulevard location. Upon the completion of the renovation work, and with the addition of its restaurant, Laxman Narnia Corporation will employ 9 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees. As a responsible member of the business community in which it does business, Laxman Narnia Corporation has participated in and supported events through its charitable giving that were designed to benefit the local charitable schools and various community sports organizations, and will continue to do so moving forward. Laxman Narnia Corporation plans to renovate its existing 2,000 square foot building in order to accommodate a 1,200 square foot restaurant with an indoor seating area to accommodate 30 patrons at one time. There will not be any outdoor seating. Moreover, Laxman Narnia Corporation's restaurant will boast a wide selection of freshly made prepared food for consumption on the premises or to take home, such as hot and cold sandwiches, salads, quick meals, to name just a few. The minimum requirement to hold a restaurant liquor license are having 400 square feet and seating and food to serve 30 patrons at one time. Laxman Narnia Corporation's in-store restaurant well exceeds the minimum square footage requirements required under the liquor code. The total cost of Laxman Narnia Corporation's new investment at its 479 Broadway Boulevard location will be approximately $200,000, and with the addition of the newly expanded restaurant, seating, and storage areas, and the restaurant license, its total investment in property will be pushed close to $600,000. As an added component to Laxman Narnia Corporation's restaurant and as a convenience for its customers, Laxman Narnia Corporation is requesting the transfer of a restaurant liquor license to permit the sale and consumption of beer for both on- and off-premises consumption and wine for off-premises consumption. What we are requesting tonight is nothing new or unusual. Over the past 10 years, the PLCB has approved liquor licenses to over 500 grocery store, convenience store-based restaurants that had interior connections to the unlicensed grocery or convenience store. I've provided you what I would like to have marked as Exhibit A. It is a proposed floor plan for how the store will be set up. When I say proposed, that's going to be subject to PLCB approval and complying with all the PLCB requirements after we go ahead and we submit it. We will be filing our application on prior approval, so the PLCB will have to approve our plans. The restaurant and the convenience store hours of operations will be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Under the liquor code, licensees such as Laxman Narnia Corporation are permitted to sell alcohol, and in this case, beer, for both on- and off-premises consumption between the hours of 7 a.m. and 2 a.m., Monday through Saturday, and from 9 a.m. until 2 a.m. on Sunday, and wine to go from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Sunday. No alcohol sales will take place prior to 7 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and no alcohol sales will take place before 9 a.m. on Sundays. All wine sales to go will cease at 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday. To allow for patrons to be on the licensed premises prior to 7 a.m., Laxman Narnia Corporation will be obtaining an extended hours food permit, which will permit patrons to be able to be on the restaurant premises to be able to purchase breakfast sandwiches, other food items, and non-alcoholic beverage items. There will be a dedicated restaurant manager who will receive the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement developed Responsible Alcohol Management Program owner-manager training, as well as the BLCE's seller-server training. All other restaurant associates will receive ramp seller-server training. All restaurant associates working in the restaurant will be 18 years of age or older. Moreover, Laxman Narnia Corporation, the establishment itself, will become ramp certified. Laxman Narnia Corporation intends to have a 100% carding policy for patrons who appear to be less than 35 years of age. Laxman Narnia Corporation will utilize an ID card reader to read the customer's age to make sure that a valid ID is being used. The restaurant will offer single servings of beer for on-premises consumption and up to 192 fluid ounces, or 2 six-packs of beer, and 3,000 milliliters of wine to go, or 4 standard bottles for off-premises consumption. All beer and wine purchases must be made at the designated cash registers that are located on the restaurant premises. The other store cash registers located in the unlicensed convenience store area will not be able to accept beer and wine SKUs. Beer purchased for on-premises consumption must be consumed only in the restaurant's seating area. Customers will not be permitted to leave the seating area with an open beer, and there will be signage posted to that effect. Patrons will only be permitted to pay for fuel at the registers located on the unlicensed convenience store premises. The registers located on the licensed restaurant premises will not be able to ring up fuel sales. In the restaurant, there will be several security cameras that will cover the restaurant area and the designated cash registers. In addition, the restaurant associates and licensed manager will physically monitor the restaurant area and seating area on a regular basis. Security cameras will be located within the unlicensed convenience store as well as on the exterior of the building. There will be no sales of distilled spirits, and smoking will not be permitted anywhere in the licensed premises. There will be no arcade games, pool tables, or live entertainment. However, there will be a couple of TVs in the seating area televising local programming. Laxman Narnia Corporation is, has been, and will continue to be a responsible business owner and a member of the business community that is making a significant investment in its City of Monroeville location, and that investment will need to be protected by responsible management and well-trained employees. This will not be a place where people will just hang out to drink, but it will be a well-lighted, safe, and secure place where customers can purchase prepared food and a six-pack of beer or a bottle of wine to take home, or dine in and have a beer or two with their meal. For these reasons, we request that the City of Monroeville issue a resolution approving the intermunicipal transfer of a restaurant liquor license into the city for use by Laxman Narnia Corporation at its 479 Broadway Boulevard location. And if council has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. It's currently a Sunoco?
It's the Sunoco, that's correct.
Sunoco on Broadway Boulevard?
That is correct.
Is it going to remain a Sunoco?
It will remain a Sunoco. There will be fuel cells there. I don't know if he's going to change the name of the restaurant where it will be like Sunoco, and we haven't decided that yet.
Okay,
So.
but that would have no bearing on
No.
the license transfer?
No.
I have one item for you,
Sure.
and this has no bearing on council's decision on the liquor license, which is, as we know, is a separate issue.
Correct.
There's an underlying zoning issue with restaurants in the zoning district that gas station is located in. So my advice to your client would be to get in touch with the municipal staff as soon as you can and work through that, give them an idea what you're doing, because you're probably going to need some kind of zoning relief to do that.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and comply with the zoning and everything because he's going to have to bring in the plans to get those approved,
Sure.
to put the addition on to the back of it.
Okay, just so you're aware of it, that's all. But again, it does not impact council's decision with respect to the
No,
transfer
but
of
it
the
will
license.
impact him opening. Any other questions?
Nothing else.
Yeah,
Mr. Osinko.
does this company, this will be their first business in Monroeville, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what locally, where are they at around by us?
They've got a place. They have a place up in Johnstown. They're in North Huntington. I believe he has.
So the first Allegheny County?
Yeah, this is the first. This is the first store that he's actually putting. He's going to have alcohol sales at. He also has. He's also a member of another corporation that we actually have one out that's going out in Freedom as well.
But he currently owns the Sunoco. He's owned the
Yes.
Sunoco since the beginning of the year.
Yes, he and the corporation that is the property owner. Him and his brother both own the property down there. So he's got a vested interest in the property itself.
Council, any other questions?
No.
Mr. Little?
Sure.
Maybe I missed it in your presentation, but is there a maximum amount of beers you're allowed to have when you're sitting there?
He hasn't put a beer limit on what you would have to do to be able to consume in there, but it's not going to be set up for a place where you're going to basically be going in. I mean, it's going to be a safe and secure environment. Our law firm itself, we represent a lot of convenience store chains, and I would say probably less than 1% of all of the alcohol sales are consumed on the premises. And generally, it's somebody, they may come in and have a beer with a hoagie. We're not going to be selling wine or any alcohol for on-premises consumption.
Oh, I mean, we've had presentations, and this is about our third in the last 4 or 5 months.
Can you move your microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe.
Don't touch it.
And I think the last presentation, they did have a maximum of only 2 sitting there, but that's council's decision, though.
Yeah, it was probably one of my colleagues for probably one of our other clients. They have that's part of their business model that they employ throughout the state where they do liquor licenses.
So that they basically are they're doing like a smaller scale of what, say, Sheetz is doing.
Oh, yeah, it
Or
would
like
be
a gas
much, it would
station,
be much
convenience
smaller
store.
than a Sheetz or a Speedway.
Any other questions, council? Nope. Well, there will be no vote taken on this evening. We'll be considering this on October 9th, our Tuesday meeting, and the public would be welcome and have an opportunity to speak to it at that point as well. But thank you for your time.
All right, so we're going to keep the record open between now and the council meeting? Or are we closing the record?
No, we should close the record.
Yes, yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
we're gonna
We'll
close
close the public hearing. So the public hearing is we closed. Seek a motion for that?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. So we'll close the public hearing for it, but this resolution will be considered on Tuesday.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Council, we're moving back to our regular agenda. We're going to be opening it up for citizens' remarks and comments. So if you signed in, now would be your chance to speak. Do we have a sign sheet? Yeah, let me get the sign sheet. And we do have one more public hearing on our agenda for Beamsley Land Management. Applicant is requesting conditional use approval pursuant to section 401.8 of the Monroeville zoning ordinance, number 1443, as amended to permit a cut and fill operation.
We have 2, actually.
Okay.
Next page, 2.
All right, okay.
Zoning.
Very good.
Yeah.
Cut and fill operation, and this is along Infinity Drive. And also, we have a public hearing for the rezoning, 24.96 acres of property currently zoned S Conservancy to R2 1 Family Residential, the property being located at 3892 Logan's Ferry Road. So these 2 items we're going to be having public hearings for. So I would encourage anyone that's going to speak for or against those projects to hold off for now, so you can be sworn in, so you can be in the public hearing for those 2 items. But I will open the floor now for Citizens Night for any municipal item that you'd like to speak to. And we'll start with our sign-in sheet. Pam Bodziak. And as always, we ask for a 5-minute time limit on public comment. We feel 5 minutes is an adequate amount of time for you to get your point across. Pam, welcome.
Hello, Pamela Bodziak, Assistant Director at Monroeville Public Library. Nicole Henline couldn't be here this evening, but sends her best. We thank you for your continued support, and as always, just want to share some of the recent going-ons and what we have coming up soon. Huge thank you to everyone who donated to the library or participated in our fundraiser during Love Your Library Month this September. Everything that was collected will be part of a prorated match from the Buncher Foundation, so your donation went extra far, so thank you. Yep. Saturday, October 13th is our 2nd annual Library Fun Fest from 12 to 4, presented this year in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. It is our 2nd year. Last year was a big success. We had over 1,000 attendees, and we're thinking we're going to have even more this year. Food trucks, inflatables, games, face paintings, crafts, cupcake contests, soul line dancing, pretty much anything you can think of. So we hope to see everybody come out for that. Some upcoming programs, we have 2 local authors that will be speaking. Wednesday, October 24th, Natasha Garrett talking about her book, Becoming American. November 7th, local author Erin O'Brien, writing as Laurel Kerr. She'll be talking about her book, Wild on My Mind. Coming up in a couple of weekends, there is going to be a Hocus Pocus Halloween party, an all-ages after-hour event, Saturday, October 27th at 7. If you've never seen the film Hocus Pocus, we're having popcorn, ice cream. That should be a good time. It's a Halloween classic. New program in our children's department, a sensory story time. Regular story times aren't practical for everyone. Sometimes the stimulation is just too much. So if this is something that troubles you, we invite you to our sensory story time. It's a lower key environment with opportunities for controlled sensory input. If you have any questions, you can contact our children's librarian, Hope Benson. Registration is required, so make sure you would sign up for that. The Children's Department is continuing their partnership with the school district. They are going to be offering a program that explains Title I to parents and gives them a way to help kids. Our teen after-school program kicked off its second year this month. We have an average of 15 to 20 teens who come in every day. It's a place to make friends, work on projects, they play games. Of course, there's snacks. They've done some crafts. Our make-your-own stress balls proved very popular. It's something that we do in partnership with AmeriCorps, and we could not do it without them, so a huge thank you to them and our new members, Max and Allison. We just discovered today that we will be receiving another $1,000 grant from the NASA at My Library program, so be on the lookout for a related upcoming program from that. And speaking of the stars, thank you to everyone who came out for our 5th annual Star Party. We had about 65 people come out for that. There were close-ups of the planets, star clusters. That's a program we've done in partnership with the Amateur Astronomers Association of Pittsburgh, and again, we couldn't do it without them. So our thanks to them for bringing space to our backyard. And we have just reopened the library's Maker Lab. You can stop by during open hours to use our 3D printer and scanners. They're sewing the old-fashioned way and with computers. You can try your hand at coding, lots of new things, so check out the website for more information about that. And as always, please stop by if you haven't been to the library lately. Thank you for your support in making the library a vibrant community center.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks for making my report easier, Pam. Thank you.
Josh Haydu, are you with the rezoning?
We are, yes.
Okay, we'll hold your thoughts there. Ed Moore?
Yes, we're
Same for you two? Okay, very good. We've now signed at this time for comment on any municipal item. We will have a public hearing regarding the Beamsley Land Management to cut and fill operation. And we also have a public hearing for the rezoning at Logan's Ferry Road. So you will have a moment at that point as well. But if there's anyone else who would like to address council for any other reason, seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. We have a presentation. Is Chief Cole here? We have a presentation by Chief Cole regarding the public safety communications system to give us an update on that. Chief, the floor is yours.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to come and address council and personally thank council and, of course, members of the Public Safety Radio Committee or Public Safety Committee and the fire departments for getting together and finally getting this radio project 95% completed. So, we talked about it numerous times over the years here. We needed to get our system updated. That was really a system that was initially built out in the 1980s, the early 1980s actually. Built again in the 88-ish, later 80s, and then kept up with what we could keep up with the FCC as they changed rules. So I wanted to explain that to council. We're going to have some pictures we'll show here in a second. Joe has them ready to fire them up about how the system looks, what it actually is doing for us, and it's save us a little bit of money, even though the bottom line of this system was it would cost close to $1.2 million, of which $300,000 of that was a grant from Representative Markozic's office, and I want to make sure we thank Representative Markozic for that grant. $200,000 of it is out of the Asset Seizure Fund, which is money that we get in law enforcement through seizures. Most of the time it's narcotics related, and then the rest obviously was taxpayer money that we got through the council here and funding it, I guess, if you want to call it a capital project. I have one of the radios here. What we did was we got up onto the UHF platform for the police department. The fire department's been there for many years. The UHF platform enables us to talk to any other police department with the exception of the state police in Allegheny County, and that's part of the mutual aid end of it. Joe, if you want to show some pictures, he's showing, well, the first picture he had up on there, if you go back one here, Joe, is the mobile radio that I have sitting here Every officer was issued one, so they're using them. We found that we have 95% coverage throughout the municipality and in buildings, and this is without the 4 sites up and running. We currently have 3 sites up and running to transmit and retransmit this radio frequency, or our radio channels. The 4 sites still being built out, but we were able to have 95% coverage everywhere in the municipality with a portable radio. In addition, this next radio is the in-car radio. There's a picture of that we call the mobile radio. Again, the same thing, has all the channels in it, the same as the portable. Next slide, Joe. That's a picture of our command unit. Our command unit that Fire Company 3 houses, but we have the capability of taking our dispatch center and moving it in remotely to a command unit in case something would happen to the building here. It's part of emergency management, so that's part of just one of the consoles of the radios that we have. We actually have 2 parallel to that, so we can do 2 spots. Just a picture of a portable charger, a mass charger for our portables. And give me another picture here. Now, that's a picture of our mobile unit outside the car. Give me another one here, Joe. And that's a picture of the dispatch console. One of the unique things about our dispatch is that we, as I said, have 4 sites. Well, we actually have 6 sites, but 4 sites that receive and transmit. We cut out all the phone lines that were going to those sites. So everything's tied together with microwaves. We kind of have our own microwave network in the municipality here. When you buy these microwaves, they come in 25 channel only. We're only using 4 or 5 channels, so we have growth capability where we can put more things over the microwave, and in the future, possibly putting video over that. So that's a 10-year plan down the road when video becomes more prevalent, especially in the police cars. Because the future of the police cars, besides in-car cameras, is going to be body cameras. That's coming down the pipe here. So that helps us tie into that system. But every one of the sites that we previously had needed 2 phone lines attached to it, constantly attached to it. They call them trunk lines or dedicated lines, I guess is a better way to put it. And they were costing us around $200 a month per site. So they've all been eliminated and gone with the microwave system, and that's what you're seeing as one of the control for the frequencies that we have at dispatch. I think we have one more picture of dispatch too. That's just another picture of the control monitor that actually is the guts of the system. And these sites throughout the municipality, they also have a lot of infrastructure, if you want to call it, radio control heads and stuff like that, that are located at those sites to repeat our channel and make it easy to hear even when you're talking on a portable. So my real issue here was to say, hey, this project's finally getting done. It took a little longer than we wanted it to take. Wanted to make sure I thanked the Councilman Harvey and people on the Public Safety Committee, and certainly thank Representative Markozik, certainly the municipal manager for helping us get the grant money, and the fire departments for all cooperating and putting this together. It actually really is a public safety radio system. And there's no doubt in my mind, the system that we replaced, it says really the initial system was the late 70s, early 80s with the police department. The fire departments was 1988. So we kept these radios and portable radios and mobiles well over 20 years. That's how long it lasted. So
Doug, just to confirm, the old portables and radios we're going to pass on to Public Works, is that true?
some of the high band radios, we have 2 sets of old portable radios and mobile radios. The answer to your question is yes, because the back end of this is that the old high band radio system that we have for the police department, which was built out with more infrastructure than what Public Works has, is going to be swapped. We're not going to give up that high band radio channel. We're going to swap Public Works to it. Public Works is going to stay the same, but they'll have a transmitter at a different site, and they'll have more receive antennas throughout the municipality. So the answer to your question is yes, whatever radios we can, and then the other ones are going to be sold. We're going to actually have a buyer for them to, to have a reseller.
So we'll have better communications with Public Works also.
Certainly our dispatch center has total access to them, and we'll be able to talk to them through the dispatch center.
And I know the site that's still being built out is the mall. And if it's my understanding, the mall is giving us that space for free, so we have better communications down there. In return, we're letting their security use one of those 25
To tie it all together, absolutely correct. Well, yeah, absolutely got it right. We've had a cooperative with the mall and mall security. They're not going to be on our channel, but they'll be able to use their channel, which is in the same band, which we have in our radio. So we can switch and talk on their
So
radio.
they'll utilize our repeaters down there
repeaters,
on
absolutely.
their own channel.
And we'll have better coverage. That'll actually give us better coverage on the, I guess you want to call the western part of our town going toward Wilkins too. So that'll be a redundancy there. Kept that pretty quick.
Not bad, not bad.
Appreciate
Very
it.
good,
Appreciate
Chief.
your time,
Nice
and
work.
thanks to everybody that
Thanks,
supported
Doug.
this
Good
project. It
job.
was really, really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, council, moving over to our proposed agenda, our agenda-setting meeting. We have an executive session announcement. council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to tonight's citizens' night, beginning at 6:20 PM until 7 PM. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the October 9th, 2018 council meeting. In front of you, council, you have minutes from Citizens' Night meeting of September 6, 2018, our council work session minutes of September 6, 2018, and the regular council meeting of September 11th, 2018. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, moving over to our reports of our tax collections. Any questions or comments, council? Seeing none, we'll put our list of bills, budget transfers, and payroll together. Mr. Duncan, any questions this evening?
I have none.
Mr. Arsenko?
None.
Mr. Johns?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Harvey?
Nothing.
Mr. Poach?
None, thank you.
And now we're moving over to our new business of our Beamsley Land Management. This is our public hearing item 17-4-C. Applicant is requesting conditional use approval pursuant to section 401.8 of the Monroeville zoning ordinance number 1443 as amended to permit a cut and fill operation totaling approximately 104,108 cubic yards of earth. The property is located at 1,000 Infinity Drive in the R4 multi-family residential and C2 business commercial zoning districts. This being a public hearing item, is the applicant here?
You're first, dude.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah.
Gentlemen, if you could sign in. Well, you already signed in. I apologize. You already signed in.
I did
Oh,
not-
no, the other guys
they
did.
The other guys did, yeah.
Sign in, please. And then state your name for the record, identify yourselves, and then you can go on with your presentation.
Good evening, John Frederick with R.A. Smith, Civil Engineering and Surveying Consultant for the applicant.
And I'm Bob Beasley. I'm the applicant.
Bob,
Bob Beasley.
welcome.
Dr. Bob Beasley.
Dr. Beasley, very good. Proceed.
Okay, good evening. Again, the site located at 1,000 Infinity Drive along Route 286 in Monroeville. Some of the history there, the current medical office building currently exists on the property located on the northeast corner of the site, which was developed in the early 2000s, which created Infinity Drive, which is a private roadway off of Abers Creek Road. The 36-acre parcel was then subdivided in 2004, which then created 4 lots, 2 of which are zoned C2, the 2 front lots along the Abers Creek frontage along the east side of the property, as well as 2 rear lots along the west properties zoned R4 for multifamily residential. Parcels 1 and 2, again, the C2 zoning. We initially started to look at the project with Dr. Beasley back in 2011. Took a brief hiatus in regard to planning activities and then picked up again in 2016 with planned development to include residential development on the parcel with an extension off of Infinity Drive. We've worked very closely with staff, had several meetings over the last 2 years, had various options of development, which included initially 2 mirrored cul-de-sacs coming up the valley on the north side of the site as well as the south side of the site. Had looked at several options in regard to maximizing the development. At one time had over 60 units, including townhomes and patio homes. But since then have reduced the property development to include 1 single cul-de-sac and 32 townhome units as currently planned and presented with the applications. So as part of the submittal process, which includes the land development plans, the subdivision, which is another application this evening, the geotechnical reports, we submitted one from 2003, which included the original medical office building development performed by Ackenhow Associates, and then a supplemental report which was done by ACA Engineering in 2016 as part of our original application for the development. Conducted trip generation reports. We had an extensive wetland report and study. We were then asked to conduct an archaeological test through the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. an extensive post-construction stormwater management plan, erosion and sedimentation control plans, MPDS permits for the earth-moving activities, general permits for the outfalls of the stormwater system, additional H&H or hydrology and hydraulic studies for the tributary which flows from the west to the east, which bisects the site and empties into Abers Creek, utility availability letters, and also then a sewage facilities planning module for the development and sewage flows from the development. As described, the existing conditions plan shown here in front of us, again, is a 36-acre site. Parcel 1 includes the
Sir, I
5...
don't want to stop you, but
Yes.
could you show the people, I know where it is, but 286, like we're 286.
Yeah, if you just
Absolutely.
orient us.
Okay, on the east side of the property, first of all, there's Abers Creek Road, which then is commercially developed.
Sir,
and then-
I'm sorry. Could you just slide it this way just a little bit?
There you go.
Perfect. There you go.
Okay.
Start over. If you start over again, please.
Okay, Abers Creek Road along the east side of the property, which is a south-north connector, service drive, and that parallels Route 286 or Golden Mile Highway, which is on the other side of the commercially developed properties. And again, not shown, but Golden Mile Highway, Route 286 is just off the sheet here where the boundary of the
What is
drawing
the
is shown.
development right there, the small square, right there?
Right here, this is the current medical office building that was developed in 2000.
You're right, I guess. There.
That is the dollar store?
Dollar store.
Okay,
Gold
that was
Gauntlet
just for-
Dollar
so people
Store
can
right
picture
there.
where this
Okay.
is at.
So the current access is off Abers Creek Road up Infinity Drive, which currently accesses the medical office building located in the northeast quadrant of the property.
The property you're talking about today, no?
The property of
The cut and fill operation.
planned development is specifically the north half of the site on the west side or at the rear of the existing medical office building, oriented on the property here.
And there'll be access to that site from the same road?
Yes, there is a planned extension off of Infinity Drive, and getting into actually the heart of the conditional use, the major excavation. This is the grading plan, which shows the cut fill operations, also the development of the extension of Infinity Drive up through a cul-de-sac, and then 4 individual townhome units of 8 units apiece. They are 24 by 40 feet in dimension. Again, we've submitted the geotech analyses based on the 2016 evaluation, and what delayed the process is through the review process with the municipality. Garvin Bauer Bitco identified some soil issues in regard to the cut slope, and we originally made application. We also included a cut slope along the south corner of the site here. We were planning to develop a commercial pad in the C2 zoning district. Since then, in the evaluation, we did then do a supplemental or third geotech report at the beginning of 2018 and submitted that in regard to the additional cuts and fills associated with the property. So currently, the plan as submitted has cut and fill slopes associated with creating the extension of Infinity Drive and the pads for development. The cut and fill operations would create a lower level or basement garage level entry for the townhomes, as well as then a 2-story addition where the back of the units would exit from the first living floor above the basement and garage level. Working with Doug Bitco in particular is the analysis that we're underway with in regard to the cut slope in the back. Right now, as submitted, we are showing a 2-to-1 slope, and both Ackenhow Associates as well as ACA Engineering are very confident in regard to the construction of a 2-to-1 slope. However, working with Doug Bitco, we had a pretty extensive meeting with him as well as municipal staff several weeks ago. The slope will be cut back to a 3-to-1 slope from elevation 1030 through 970, where the softer material was identified. And then above that, there's a very competent limestone layer, which then we can cut through at a 1.5-to-1 slope. So in general, the limits of excavation and daylight lines as shown here are really unchanged from that slope configuration. The total earthwork operation here, as listed, I believe in the briefing, was at just over 100,000 cubic yards. Based on the removal of this significant cut within the C2 parcel, the total earthwork quantity is 84,000 cubic yards, which will be balanced on site. As part of the operations, we've gone through the Allegheny County Conservation District and received the approvals for erosion sediment control planning, Again, the discharge locations from stormwater management with general permits, as well as a significant stream crossing located here to initiate the access drive up to the C2 parcel. So all those permits are in hand and have been given to the municipality. We've worked through review letters from HRG, staff here in Monroeville, the Allegheny County Conservation District, the local office of DEP in regard to the water crossing MS consultants. And again, we're finalizing the review with Doug Bitko at Garvin Bauer Bitko. As part of the, again, I think that concludes basically the summation or the discussion relative to the major excavation. There are subsequent applications as noted with the subdivision and land development.
Very good. Council, do you have any questions about this matter?
Paul, do you have any concerns?
I'll defer to the third.
Mr. Wheeldon?
As Mr. Frederick had mentioned, we had a very extensive meeting with the geotechnical engineers involved, and the biggest concern was the 2-to-1 slope that had been proposed. It has now been revised to a 3-to-1 slope, which is much safer. Doug Bico so far has verbally approved the revisions. We haven't seen the revised plan yet, but I don't expect there to be any issues that can't be resolved.
Good.
The only other question I have is, you probably know what's coming. Do they meet everything MS4 requires them to meet?
Yes.
Good.
No other questions at this time? And if there's anyone from the audience that would like to speak to this matter, you can come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing for item number 1, which is just the cut fill operation. And we'll move over to our, if you would like to speak to more of the second application, 17-12-SUB, subdivision for Beamsley Land Management. Applicant is requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval of tax parcels 1243A 155, 1243-A 156, and 1243A 157 and 1243A-158. Applicant proposes to subdivide the existing 4 lots into 6 new lots that will be used for residential townhomes and a future medical use facility. The property is located at 1000 Infinity Drive in the R4 multifamily and C2 business commercial zoning district. So, Mr. Frederick, you want to continue?
Yeah, actually, I covered a lot of the history in regard to how we got to this point. In regard to, I'd like to point out some additional areas in regard to what I mentioned. The tributary to Abers Creek literally bisects the site, cuts it in half. As shown here, we plotted the 100-year flood elevation coming down through the site. What is also shown are pockets of wetlands based on a delineation that was done as part of the project. And that's what kind of veered us away from the development along the south side of the site relative to a non-disturbance, so we're not impacting any of the wetlands on site. Those will be maintained during all of the operations. So moving ahead to the actual site plan for preliminary and final approval. Again, as shown is the extension of what is currently about 300 feet of Infinity Drive coming off of Abers Creek at the intersection on the east side, and that meanders through, heading in a west-northwest direction to the cul-de-sac, and again, providing the lot frontage for what would be 4 almost identical clusters of townhome units. Again, each unit 24-foot wide by 40-foot deep, lower level garage, parking for an internal single-car garage, as well as parking on the exterior through the driveway to meet the parking requirement. As provided, municipal standards have all been met relative to pavement, access, driveway, roadway widths, sidewalks along the entire length of the roadway. Site lighting plan, landscape plan, again, all submitted, and copy here today in regard to the plantings. Earlier on, there was a comment about varying the species of the tree plantings along the streetscape. So that has been amended or revised based on the plans as submitted. Site lighting plan to light the infrastructure in the corridor. Stormwater management, again, through the process and reviewed. So in general, the R4 zoning includes the development of 32 townhomes in 4 separate buildings.
Council, any questions about this matter?
No, sir.
Mr. Hugus, Mr. Wielden, any issues with this part of the application?
No.
This actually was probably one step back, but I forgot to ask, is all the land gonna stay within, or are they gonna transport it off?
Balance
Earthwork?
on site.
Everything's balanced on site.
Okay.
And then as far as the cul-de-sac at the end, that's adequate size for fire trucks and everything?
Meets municipal standards.
Very good. Moving over to our third item, our 17-14-ST, applicant requesting site plan approval to construct residential townhomes on property zone R4, multifamily, and a building pad for future medical use on the property zone C2, business, commercial, and associated site amenities. The property is located at 1000 Infinity Drive in the R4, multifamily, and C2 business commercial zoning districts. Yes, you already went through most of this already, Mr. Frederick. Council, any questions?
None.
None.
Very good. Making sure we got everything here.
That's it.
We're good.
Is that the last one?
Yep.
Very good. So this will be considered on Tuesday for a vote, Tuesday, October 9th. There will also be an opportunity for residents to speak to this matter on Tuesday prior to a vote as well. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Doc, thank you. Moving over to our next, number 4, our next public hearing item, Sandy Hill Development, 18-2-Z. Applicant is requesting to rezone 24.96 acres of property currently zoned S Conservancy to R2 one-family residential. The property is located at 3892 Logan's Ferry Road and is identified as parcel 741-R-149. And gentlemen, if you two could, you've already signed it, but if you could just state your names for the record, please.
Sure. Ed Moore with Scheffler and Company.
Ed,
Josh Hader with David Worcester and Associates.
welcome. And is there anyone to speak, any resident here to speak on this matter this evening? If so, could you raise your hand? I'm going to ask you to please stand up, and we're going to be swearing you in.
Would you like me to do that? Okay, please all raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You can be seated.
And gentlemen, if you want to go through the project, and then we'll open up the floor to public comment for this.
Sure. Again, good evening. My name is Ed Moore with Scheffler and Company. Also with me tonight is Bud Scheffler from Scheffler and Company, and Josh is our traffic engineer, in case any questions come up with traffic. Just a quick overview of the site. The property is the former Maple Crest Golf Course property. This is Logan's Ferry Road. The entire site is about 70 acres. The zoning line is in this area here. This is currently zoned S, and this is R2 to the front. So we would like to make the entire property R2. Our reasoning for that is our access. We have 2 access points off of Logan's Ferry Road into the site. They're a little smaller lots. They fit our proposed target buyer, our proposed unit size. Less maintenance, empty nesters, folks who are retired, close to retiring, no kids. So we're entering through the R2 zone. We would like to keep the same lot size, the same feel, the same look, and just continue it through the back portion of the property. The area in question to be rezoned is about 25 acres. Again, like I said, the whole site is about 70 acres. As you can see to the north, this is already zoned R2, so it matches well with what we're looking at doing as well. Again, we've submitted land development plans for the project. We've submitted a full traffic study, which is based on the intersections provided by your township engineers. So that's currently under review. We've also submitted stormwater management plans and reports, which are currently under review. So we plan to comply with whatever comments that need addressed. When we were at the last Planning Commission meeting, there were a few items that were brought up. One was traffic, so hopefully we've addressed that by the reports. We also have an exhibit here that shows you the intersections we've studied if you want to get into that. Stormwater management was also a concern. We've submitted plans for that. That's currently under review. There was also an issue brought up about a sidewalk on our side of the property of Logan's Ferry Road along our frontage. So we plan to have discussions with the township on that. We fully intend to provide a sidewalk. There's some issues we need to work through. whether you want it on the road or set back from the road. There's some topography issues, some vegetation, things like that, but nothing that can't be addressed. And then there was also talk about, it's called a conservancy district, but you could still develop it for single family. The lot sizes are just a little larger. And what we've done is we've submitted it ahead of time too, but we've also prepared a plan. This plan here shows in red the lot sizes in the S district. And you can see underneath, the black ones are in the R2. And basically, the lot sizes in the S district are just a little larger. Again, the larger lots, in our mind, lead to potentially more earth disturbance, more tree removal by the individual homeowners. And with the larger lots, you reduce some of the dedicated open space that is now in the residential lot. So, you know, we could still develop in the S district. It's considered conservancy, but you're still allowed single family. You can still have the single family lots. So we've prepared that exhibit for your review and any questions. And then again, this exhibit here shows the 8 intersections that we were asked to study. This again is our proposed land development on the Maple Crest Golf Course. And this lists all of the intersections that we've studied that are in the report for your township review. Again, any questions?
Mr. Moore, if you could go back to your first sheet there.
Sure.
So if you just, once again, outline for us the area that is S Conservancy that you're proposing, that you are asking to be rezoned.
Sure. This line, this is the zoning district line right here.
Okay.
And on this side is the S, and this side is the R2.
Okay. So that plan there is what ideally you're asking for.
Correct, yes.
So now if you could flip back to the other.
Sure.
Now, in the event this was not rezoned, that's what you'd be able to do.
We could still provide single-family lots. Again, the lots are bigger, but with the larger lot sizes, you're also taking away from the dedicated open space that would be left completely untouched.
Right. But it wouldn't prevent you from building in that area.
It wouldn't prevent us from building, no. The lot sizes aren't ideal for the product we intend to in our consumer. Again, they're larger lots. The idea here is smaller lots, less maintenance for the empty nesters. So the larger lots don't work as well for us, but it's not like we can't do anything on this piece of property.
Understood.
I have one question. Maybe Mr. Hughes. What I could see, the Planning Commission hasn't made a recommendation one way or the other?
It was a 2-2 vote.
They had 4 members there.
There was 4 members at the meeting.
Is that unusual, or is that?
Well, it's a 7-person board.
Yeah, I understand
Typically, you
that,
have an
yeah.
odd number.
Right, yeah.
So in this case, there was only 4 members, so you had a 2-2 vote.
I understand. Just curious.
And Mayor, real quick before maybe we get started here, the applicant has referred that he has submitted the traffic study, the stormwater management reports, the geotechnical reports. Those are still in review because that will be discussed at the November Planning Commission.
Right. That's what
The only thing we're talking about tonight is rezoning. All the site plan, stormwater, all those issues will be talked about at the Planning Commission in November, back to you in December.
Well,
Exactly.
Paul, wouldn't it be better off we hold off on approving or disapproving this?
No, because most people usually come through with their rezoning first, because if they don't get the rezoning, they usually don't do the project.
Okay.
But in this case, they could go through with the project with a different size lot, so.
Right. Well,
they're
see, that's why I threw that
They're
out.
following up with the full-blown application next month to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Well, yes, thank you, Mr. Hughes. You brought up a good point. And, yeah, we appreciate you actually giving us the outline because it's important instead of just coming here for a rezoning, and it's good for everyone to
helpful.
hear what's going on. or
I guess
you're
what I'm trying to
proposing.
say is that the municipality is not prepared to talk about traffic or stormwater at this time because we have not reviewed the report.
Right, so tonight, really, we are talking just about the rezoning. What will be considered on Tuesday will be the request to rezone the 24.96 acres currently zoned S and rezoning it to R2, one-family residential. That's what we are going to be considering on Tuesday and discussing this evening. But it is a public hearing item. There were some individuals that asked.
Do they have any more testimony?
I don't
Oh, yeah,
think so.
sorry,
We
I'm
did-
sorry,
Does Jeremy
gentlemen.
anything he wants to say?
Not unless there are any questions, as Mr. Hughes indicated.
I realize your study's still under review, but what were the basic outline of your initial study? What did it show?
Ultimately, the findings were that there were no impacts associated with the proposed development, and no recommended mitigation measures.
Okay.
That final graphic showed we studied a fairly extensive area. Logan's Ferry Road from Old Frankstown Road all the way down to Beatty Road, 6 intersections there, and then a 7th, Old Haymaker and Beatty. And as I mentioned, no mitigations recommended, no impacts.
Okay. Paul, it's still under their study's
Right.
still under
And
review.
I'm sitting there thinking here, so they're gonna be back at the planning commission in October.
Right.
So they'll be back to council in November. I was off a month.
Okay.
So they'll be back, barring any problems we have with the reviews, they'll be back at the planning commission. And to finish Mr. John's question, it was a 2-2 vote. The only way it stays at the planning commission is if it was tabled. If it's approved or denied, it moves on to council.
I understand. And again, by submitting the reports, we know it was a little ahead of the game, but we wanted to give some reassurance to not only you folks, but some of the residents. They were asking about traffic and about stormwater management, and we intend to fully comply with your ordinance and address any comments your engineers might have. We've had staff meetings with your staff. It seems well received. And again, the smaller lot size is more ideal for this type of unit. And we actually have some photos of those units real quick. Again, that work with our proposed buyers. And these are some of the units here that we're looking at. Again, smaller units, they're deeper, but smaller lots, less maintenance, empty nesters.
Mr. Little.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Wilden. Paul, what were the 2 dissenting votes on the planning commission? What were their issues?
They never said. They took a vote. There was 2 yes, 2 no, no discussion. And I didn't get a chance to talk to the members after the meeting.
Okay.
I have a question to better understand what's in front of us as options. Are you asking between that there's one option of the zoning that includes conservancy space or not?
No, we would rezone the entire property R2.
Right. And could you go back to those 2 descriptions again for me, please?
Sure.
I'm not sure I was following it clearly.
This one here?
Yes, please.
Okay. At the last meeting, there seemed like some discussions from the audience that if it was to stay conservancy, that nothing could be developed on that piece of property. And actually, single-family homes are permitted in the S zone. I think what's kind of confusing is the conservancy designation.
Understood.
So what we wanted to show is we could still develop that piece as single-family. It just doesn't work as well with our model type. And again, the more lots you have, the more lot area you have, the less common dedicated open space there is. So the homeowners could improve their lots by, any way they needed to, removing trees, earthwork, things like that. By the smaller lots, more open space, it can't be disturbed, it can't be touched. So that's another reason why we'd like to keep the smaller lot size for the R2.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council, any other questions? And you have nothing else for the testimony? And yes, we'll bring up the residents in a second. So we'll close the portion of the actual, of your testimony for now. And then we'll go to residents. Sir, you had your hand up if you would like to.
Yes, and their maps might be helpful, simply for the sake.
Sure, if you have to come up, please, to speak.
Oh, yes, sir, of course, I'm sorry.
Come up to where they were standing.
All right, thank you.
And if you could just state your name for the record.
Larry Froscarelli.
And then Larry, did you sign in by chance at any time?
I did not sign in.
If you could please sign in, take your time. And you are a Monroeville resident?
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you very much. Thank you for indulging my question. For the sake of clarification, I'd like the gentleman to simply identify the major roads that are adjacent to that property. I had difficulty making it out
Sure,
on the
certainly.
map. I'm trying to resolve it.
Josh, if you could.
Particularly in regards to Old Frankstown
Right.
Road And,
Well, on this map here, this is Logan's Ferry.
okay, thank you.
This is Maple Crest that comes
All
through
right.
here. Gulf Ridge Drive is here, Mallard's
Okay.
here.
All right.
And if we step even a little further back, this is our property here. One of our entrances is, there's Pauline Drive is here. Again, this is all Logan's Ferry down
Logan's
through
down
here. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
And where's Old Frankstown over here? On
Sure,
this
let's
map.
Old Frankstown's up top.
Up top, right here?
Oh, okay, okay, so, and this is your proposed area here?
That's correct, yes, this is the old golf course property.
Okay. Thank you very much for indulging my question. This makes it clear. I do have one question in regards to drainage. At the intersection of, and I'm sure everyone's well aware of this, at the intersection of Logan's Ferry Road and Old Franklin, about 50 feet down in the gully, there is a large accumulation of water that very often and regularly results in flooding. Repair crews have to come out there, put cones out. Very often, they are unable to eliminate the flooding. They simply mark it as a hazardous area, and at times, cars are required to drive through water that's anywhere from an inch to perhaps 6 inches deep. It happens with regularity. My question in regards to this development is, will that have any impact on that situation, either make it worse or eliminate it?
Well, once again, we are just talking about the rezoning at this point. However, just to indulge your question, I mean, the development wouldn't make it worse. If anything, any development would improve stormwater management.
Well,
But we'll be
pardon-
talking about that further at our next meeting, whenever they actually come with the site plan and the stormwater plan and all of those items. So we only have the information for the rezoning tonight, but typically, as a rule of thumb, these type of developments, now that we have new rules in place, will actually improve the stormwater management in a region.
Well, pardon my naivete, and thank you for indulging.
Not at all. You're fine. Thank you, Larry. And we had some other individuals that wanted to address council on this item. Sir, if you could just sign in, please, and state your name for the record. And you are a Monroeville resident?
Yep, since 1949.
Welcome.
My name's Don Wilcox.
All right, Don.
I live
Is it Don or Dom?
at Donald.
Donald.
actually, Full name. I go
We'll
by
call you Don.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I live at 301 Willow Hedge and Logan's Ferry, is the street next to mine. I sit and watch out the window and watch everybody run the stop sign and see the traffic that's been involved since I moved. And Ron can tell you how long ago I moved there. I moved there in, I think, '83. Compared to the traffic that's involved now, compared to when I moved there, is about 20-fold. And if we rezone this and give them more homes to put in there, the traffic is going to get extremely and hard to get in and out of for me to get in and out of my driveway, and for getting out onto Center Road. Today, on my way out, I was going to the mall. I was behind 8 cars to cross Center Road. They either turn right or they turn left. If they turn left, you gotta wait forever, or they go across. And I had 3 cars behind me. So the more we zone this for bigger or smaller lots, the more traffic we're gonna get. And I honestly think we're gonna get a lot more runoff. We have problems up on Willow Hedge with runoff and people's houses being flooded because they didn't do enough planning in the forefront of what came down. That's what I've got to say.
All right, thank you for your comments. Anyone else would like to address council on this item? So if you just sign in and state your name for the record, please.
Les Neely, 3685 Logan's Ferry Road. I also have some traffic concerns as I live right across from the old number 1 fairway, right in the middle, going down the hill on Logan's Ferry. I back into my driveway because the blind bend at the bottom of Edgemead there by the stop sign, people coming up, if you back out, you can't see people coming up, and a lot of times you're close to getting hit. And it's just a concern for me for the extra traffic coming in and out into that area. And also some water runoff issues, but that's, you know, ongoing down there by Lee side. One of the things I'd like to know is if, number 1, how many lots would there be if you got it rezoned? And number 2, how many lots would there be if you didn't get it rezoned?
Yeah, please, Ed, thank you.
Yeah, the current plan, the way it sits right now, is 133 units.
That's if it's rezoned.
That's if it's rezoned, yes. And then we would lose 15 lots if we went to the S.
So it'd be 118.
So it goes from, just in the S zone itself, there's 38 lots on the plan we would like, and there would go down to 23 lots if it was to stay S. And again, the road system would stay the same, it's just the lots that would stay larger in the S zone. And like we said earlier, with regards to the runoff, and everybody's concerned, runoff and traffic, and I think you'll see from our reports that we submitted, there's no negative effects to this development, and the stormwater is detained and controlled as per
What did you say, 18 less?
Yes.
I believe 15 less.
15 less.
Yeah,
That's 118.
Or 15, right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it goes from 38 to 23.
Okay.
In that area.
In that area.
Just in that area, yes.
But overall, it goes from 133
To minus.
to 118.
118.
Yeah, that's the math.
So if we're talking about rezoning, which that's what we're discussing this evening, maybe to your point, and Dawn before you, not rezoning would reduce it by 15 units. I think that's maybe that's the question.
I think so.
Yeah. And another question is, what is the average price of these proposed homes?
They will range anywhere from 275,000 up to 375, depending on different bells and whistles and things like that.
Okay. And just to keep roughly revenues the same, and if you don't get it rezoned, number 1, would the developer proceed?
We would in some form or fashion, yes. If this wasn't rezoned, we wouldn't just walk away. We would probably rethink some things, but we would still pursue the project.
Okay, because I was going to say, just for revenue purposes, just raise the price of the houses a little bit, and you even make more money.
Yeah, that's out of my expertise.
I understand that, but.
Very good. Anything else, Les?
No. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll leave the floor open for anyone that'd like to discuss this item. Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing for that item. I'll seek a motion for that.
Motion.
To close and
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. And we're going to move over to our motions. Mr. Little.
Okay.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry. Gentlemen, go ahead and you can take your maps if you want. And then we will be considering this on October 9th, our Tuesday meeting. We'll be considering a vote. There'll be another opportunity for the public to speak to this matter before that vote on Tuesday.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
You're welcome.
Okay, the first motion for Tuesday evening is a motion to open a pollution control and flood reduction special revenue fund. Council tabled this at the September 11th meeting, so it would be for consideration on Tuesday. Any questions from council? Okay, that concludes the motions.
Moving over to our resolutions. Council, we did our first resolution at the top of the meeting, so we're going to move over to our second resolution. Mr. Little.
Okay, the second resolution, a resolution authorizing the distribution of 2018 General Municipal Pension System aid pursuant to the Municipal Pension Plan Act 205, 1984, and if council looks at that, that shows you the distribution of the state aid we received this year of $833,821, which will be distributed to the non-uniform, $441,101, and a police pension, $389,720. And the total check that will be going out, most likely before the end of the month, is approximately $3.7 million, and that's just for the pension plan. So the public can understand that the amount of money we do put into pension plans in the municipality. Any questions on that from council?
Next
Okay.
resolution, please.
Okay, the next resolution is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for funds with the Allegheny County Department of Economic Development for the Monroeville Municipal Building Front Door Project. I mentioned this last month. This is the Community Development Block Grant money that we will be filing for to have automatic doors in the front of the building. There's very few items that most municipalities can apply for with CDBG. You can with ADA sidewalks and things of that nature, and this is one because this is an ADA project. Any questions from council?
Next resolution, please.
Okay, resolution authorizing the Green Light Go grant for Monroeville Boulevard at Wingate Drive traffic signal replacement project with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Again, this is for council probably aware of this Green Light Go grant. This is the one for Wingate Drive. Any questions from council on that?
And this was secured by Senator Brewster.
That is correct.
Any other questions? Next resolution, please.
Okay, this is a resolution amending the developers agreement between Asbury II Homeowners Association and the Municipality of Monroeville. We had a meeting with staff and the solicitor on this issue, and this is basically what it is waiving the sidewalks, and there is a trail that goes behind the property, and the Homeowners Association, who is going to be taking over the development of this, is asking for a waiver on this. Does Mr. Hugus, you want to add anything to that, Paul?
Can I just
Sure.
interpose a point of order here?
Yeah.
The agenda was not changed even though the resolution was changed. It is actually a resolution to amend the conditions of approval of the planned residential development, which will result in a new developers agreement being executed, but actually the council action that's needed on this is to amend that PRD approval condition, those conditions. And that just didn't make it into the agenda for this session.
That'll be corrected for Tuesday then, correct?
Sure.
And this is located,
Yeah, they have some representatives.
Oh,
here
very
to
good.
Speak to us.
welcome. If, folks, you could, there's more than one? You want to all come up, or?
John's double dipping tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh. So we have Mr. Frederick already. If you could sign in and state your name for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Burkhart. It's B-U-R-K-H-A-R-T, and I am legal counsel for the Asbury II Homeowners Association, which is located off of Route 22 and Cabot Road.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Frederick,
Civil engineering consultant.
on the same project. Very
Yes.
good. Proceed with your
Thank
explanation
you.
here.
I'll provide a brief background for
Great.
council's benefit. The Asbury II Homeowners Association was the subject of a developer's agreement by the original declarant developer. That development agreement was signed on August 16th of 2001, so it's been some time since the execution of the initial developer's agreement. Essentially what happened here is that the association was supposed to consist of 16 total units. The original developer built out and sold to third parties 12 units. The original developer started to experience financial difficulties. The security which was held with the municipality had expired. The association was turned over to the existing 12 unit owners as insolvent. So we actually ended up not only being financially financially stable at that moment, but had to pay off some of the debts of the developer. So the 12 unit owners who did purchase were not in a very good situation, and it was for reasons beyond their control. We negotiated with the developer and we took title to the remaining 4 unbuilt lots. What we'd like to do now is complete the community, build out the 4 units, finish the roadway, and have the roadway dedicated to Monroeville, which was the initial initial intent. Before we can do that, and we do have an interested builder, and we do have our engineer, John Frederick, before we can enter into any agreement with the builder that we have on hand, we have to come before council, which is the reason we're asking for this to be considered at the upcoming meeting, to ask to modify the original plans as approved. What we'd like to do is eliminate additional sidewalks and walking trails. And we cannot enter into an agreement with our builder until such time as we resolve these issues. So we do intend to submit modified plans if we get there. What we're asking of council is that we be permitted to modify our current plan to eliminate sidewalks and walking trails, conditioned upon execution of an amended developer's agreement.
Okay. And if you could walk us through the map there and orient us on where we're talking about?
Sure. This is the subdivision in regard to what was approved in 2000. Currently, as described, the 3 buildings consisting of the 12 units are located along the north and heading in the southward direction. And this sits above and overlooks Route 22 heading eastward towards Murraysville. This is labeled Ames Plaza, but this is the current Pacatan's Bella Luna establishment, Murrayview shopping plaza. So again, these 3 units are in place. The roadway coming off of Cavett Drive with this teardrop circular one-way directional, then back into the 2-way traffic here. The issue is, or the request would be ultimately to build this 4th building, which again would encompass and complete the 16 units planned based on lot number 4 as shown here. When we first met with Paul, discussing the process, what would be needed to move forward, they conducted an extensive site inspection back in December of 17, identified everything that was either lacking or not up to current standard or something that was not part of the original construction. So we reviewed everything there. We concur and offered to complete all of those items with the exception of 2 items that were troublesome in regard to the completion. And again, it was the sidewalk comes along the north side of Asbury and terminates at the first driveway at this location here, actually shy of the driveway. But as far as the extension, there's several hundred feet of sidewalk along in the southward and then westward direction to this location here that was not constructed. However, and I think concurrence with staff is almost difficult or impossible to construct because of utility impacts, pedestals, utility closets, inlets at all the locations of the driveways. So adherence to any ADA standard would be extremely difficult or impossible to achieve. Several landscaping obstacles as well. So the request is to leave the sidewalk in its current configuration at the terminal point at that location there. The second request is the non-construction of the walking trail as shown on this 2000 plan. That meandered through the site. There's definitely concerns in regard to safety issues, people meandering onto the site themselves, walking behind the units, but also the topographic constraints. At the rear of these units, there's a severe 2-to-1 slope that then enters onto and empties onto the lower parking lot here. So extremely difficult to achieve and actually not wanted by the residents that are currently there. Again, very quickly, there's some photographs. This is one condition of the location of an inlet, pedestals in regard to the electric panel, the transformers.
Joe, can you blow that up a little bit? That's better.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Joe.
This is one. This is the lower driveway entering into this 3rd lower unit. This is the middle driveway. Again, you could see some of the landscape challenges that would exist for the construction of a sidewalk, the 2 inlets for crossing. Some of the cross slopes would not be adhering to ADA standards for cross slope or A larger view of the first driveway at the first unit, northernmost unit. So there's some grade challenges there, and also all the utility. This is, again, a close-up of the first driveway. The sidewalk, again, comes along the north side, terminates about 3 feet shy of the curb line, which would then empty onto the two inlets, and there's also a cross slope or longitudinal slope coming down the driveway that we would have to address. Again, current sidewalk terminating shy of the first driveway there. And then in regard to the walking trail, something probably more difficult to see, but looking at the rear of the units and the cul-de-sac away from the building there, but there's a severe cut slope at the back here. And again, there's not sufficient room to put a trail that would be safe. And again, it was a safety issue in regard to adhering to the trail's location, and again, not wanted by the current residents.
So that trail was just to loop around the property? It wasn't to access the plaza?
No, not at all. It would, as far as, it would not be safe access at all to the plaza.
Okay.
If I may just emphasize, we had submitted to Mr. Wilden on July 17th, 2018, a letter on behalf of the Asbury 2 Homeowners Association, and that includes the signatures of each and every current unit owner, so the 12 current unit owners, stating that they approve and desire the elimination of the sidewalks in question as well as the walking trail.
Okay. Council, any questions?
None.
We will be considering this for a vote on October 9th, and everything will be in order as far as what you mentioned earlier.
Indeed.
Drescher. Very good.
We appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Little, moving over to our last resolution.
Okay, resolution granting a waiver from section 003-2C of ordinance 2651 to permit the construction of a 6-foot-high retaining wall less than 5 feet from the property line for property located at 404 Alpine Village Drive. Any questions?
Nick, these folks had called me.
Sure. The applicants are here, correct?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Folks, you can stand up here.
They had called me. I went down and took a look at it. I wasn't sure just what was going on or how to deal with it. And I'd asked Mr. Hugus, because I wasn't sure if they had to go in front of zoning or planning or whatever. And Mr. Hugus tells me that it's a councilmatic decision.
That is correct. Our zoning ordinance does not regulate walls, but we do reference walls in our land disturbance ordinance. And so the appropriate action of council would be a waiver, which is a much, much less burdensome approval than a variance would be as from zoning anyway.
I understand.
So that's why they're here under that regulation.
If that makes any sense, what we just...
So I see you signed in. If you could just state your names for the record, please.
Junior De Silva.
And Leah De Silva.
Welcome. And then you have an image there describing the project?
Yeah, this is, we had a land survey done.
Okay.
And
Joe, if you could-
basically,
One moment, we'll just zoom in on that. And then if you get, there you go.
There you go.
just that orange line, that's right where we want to put the retaining wall instead of 5 feet. And we have a slope right now. But the idea of, we fixed up our yard. The idea was we wanted to create a safer yard space for our 2 children. We have a 5-year-old son with autism.
What's next to you?
Another yard.
It's another house. So we have talked to them. They're actually okay with the construction as long as it has some kind of design to it. They don't want to just see a wall. And that's pretty much what we have in plan, to put something with design into it.
Yeah, we were going to get, it's called a stone-faced jumbo block wall. It's 2 feet by 2 feet by 6 feet. So we would need 3 of the blocks high, and it's 30 feet in length approximately. But the landscaper that we were talking to said that the company we would get it from, which is Stone and Company in Greensburg, they have engineers there that they would make sure that, you know, whatever's involved in it.
It's all up to standards.
Yeah, everything would be up to standards.
So this would really almost make your backyard larger or flatten it out.
Yes. Yeah.
And it wouldn't really disturb the neighbors.
No.
Actually, it would just, they wouldn't even see the wall really because they would still see their grass.
Well, it wouldn't go over into the grass, but they would see the wall because our yard is up higher than theirs.
See the wall, they're not.
Yeah, that's why we're doing a nice wall, because they would see it. But with the bigger blocks, we wouldn't have to worry about the wall like crumbling into their yard.
That makes sense.
And they're okay with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Wielden, any comments from you or your?
No, the only reason it's here is because the ordinance requires a 5-foot setback from the property line. They want to put it right on the property line in order to maximize their rear yard. And more to your point, Mayor, that it's a fill wall, so their yard is higher than their neighbors. So, as Mr. Harvey said, they will be looking over the wall. The neighbor in question will be looking at the wall.
Okay, and yeah, I got that now. I understand
The
it.
wall that they're proposing has impressions of the stone into it, so it's not a smooth concrete block. It has some texture to it.
So it looks nice.
For
Yeah,
those,
it's appealing, it's not.
right, for
not
those
the
that have
wall.
ever been to the training center, to the shooting range, the wall that you see, that's exactly what they're doing.
And the neighbors don't have any problem.
No, they didn't care.
And is there anything we have to do as far as inspecting?
You'll have to get a building permit and go through that process.
That'll be, okay, that
Yes.
process, very good. Okay, so we're actually just talking about the
You're just
waiver,
talking about the setback
waiver at this point.
requirements.
Right.
Okay. Council, any other questions for the applicant?
Nope.
Okay, we'll be considering this on Tuesday,
Okay.
and good luck with the project.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Moving over to our ordinances. Mr. Ratcher.
This is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville establishing a pollution control and flood reduction fee and prescribing rules and regulations for the payment and collection of said fee. And this was an ordinance that was tabled last month. There were some revisions made. I believe it's in your packages. There were revisions made to sections 7, 8, 9, and 11. And what they deal with are payment terms of the fee, a late fee, and some discounts. And so those are the only changes that were made. Substantively, as far as how the fee's calculated, imposed, all of that, none of that has changed.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Ratcher. Mr. Harvey, the chairman of the MS4 committee, if you would like to elaborate on this item?
Yes, to let the residents know, there were
Ron, hey,
several,
Ron, before you get started, Tim, all the revisions will be on the website too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the revisions are already.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure the public hears that.
Exactly. Thank you.
I
Mr.
took some suggestions from those meetings that we had, and one that I proposed to council that's in there is that the religious facilities that are recognized by Monroeville and the state of Pennsylvania by their 501c3 exemption will be getting a 25% discount off their calculated fee. The other thing that we did is we made 2019 total no penalties. We realized we hit this a little bit late in the year, not only budget time for residents, but for businesses. So though you will, if you pay before March 31st, you'll still get the discount. There is no penalty in 2019. So that'll allow people to break this up a little bit without having to worry about being penalized. Was another change that was requested, and I thought was very good change. So 2019, again, if you would pay this before March 31st, you would still get the 2% discount, but there will be no penalty imposed for the rest of the year for businesses or residents alike to finish making those payments. That is because of us being a little late getting this completed. So those are the two biggest changes in the ordinance. The other thing that I might announce is that I had a resident ask me some questions on does the county and municipality and state have to pay for this fee for its roadways, and they do not. Roadways are not included in this. The second question was, does the county, state, and feds have to pay these fees for property owned in Monroeville? And the answer is yes. As a matter of fact, in my research, I'll just read one sentence. Federal facilities now required to pay stormwater fees. On January 4th, 2011, President Obama signed into law Senate Bill 3481 requiring federal government to pay their fair share of local stormwater management services. So yes, the post office will have to pay, and any other piece of federal land or county or local government land will have to pay the fees. And the reason why for the religious facilities, by the way, is to help them a little bit, because though they still cause stormwater, they are not susceptible to getting any kind of government grants or anything else. And through requests and considerations, we think they're deserving of that, so. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Council, any questions on this item? It'll be considered on Tuesday. Moving over to our reports of municipal staff, Mr. Ratcher, do you have anything else this evening?
No report tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Little.
Yeah, the 2019 municipal budget will be presented to council at the council meeting this coming Tuesday, just as an FYI. Also, I have a couple things that are not on the agenda. Joe, do you want to bring up about the hard-to-recycle waste? There we go. We're going to have an event this Saturday, as we do approximately 3 times during the year, down at the Public Works facility. It starts at 9 o'clock for those items that you could drop off hard-to-recycle items, your TVs, computers, AC units, propane tanks. There's a whole list that is on our website. We have about 90 people registered. It's best if you do registered, and there are a fee for those items to be disposed of. Okay, thanks, Joe. Also, I had at council's desk, and I mentioned to council this past week, the FCC in Washington, D.C. this past month has language where they have basically stripped the municipalities of their legal rights on wireless facilities within the local rights-of-ways of the municipalities. We passed an ordinance with the help, it was developed by Dan Cohen, our attorney, for this type of legal about 3-4 years ago. In fact, we approved an antenna that goes within the right-of-way, I think it was about 2 months ago. They're about as tall as a telephone pole, and it looked like a garbage can was on top of it. And I have talked to Representative Markozik about this, and I've also emailed Senator Brewster. But I have a sample language of a letter to both of those legislators that if council wishes me to put together and sign and send it to them, you can let me know on Tuesday. You can read the letter, and I just received this in an email today. Okay, unless council has any questions on that item.
Yeah, I do. In terms of that, how is it, our federal representatives, are we going to engage them?
Well, basically, the Boroughs Association has suggested to contact the state because this affects our state.
And then they'll take it back up to deal with on the recommendations to the federal government.
I would imagine it's basically affecting our zone, regulating the height, even the fees. They're telling us how much we can charge, and I'm not going to go through it specifically. We could have this on the website. That's no problem, but council can read through what is being stripped of the municipalities. Just to highlight it, it strips municipalities of their current rights to manage wireless poles and antennas in the public rights-of-ways. Number 2, it drastically cuts the fees that municipalities may assess for the use of the rights-of-ways to $25 per site, and it fails to legally protect municipalities from accidents in the rights-of-ways involving wireless facilities. I've spoken to Dan Cohen, briefly, Attorney Cohen, a couple weeks ago about this, and he highly recommended we contact our representative, which I have. I've contacted Joe Markozik about it, and he said when he finds out a little bit anything further about it, he'll call me back, and I'll keep council apprised.
Well, and just to add to that, Tim, you know, I sit on the Boroughs Association. I will give you more updates as I get them. I'll get them way before you all, so I'll make sure we're updated on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything
Okay.
else, Mr. Little?
Yeah, we have, for the past two elections, we've had referendum questions on the ballot with respect to our home rule charter. This coming general election, we're going to have 5 more questions on the ballot, and I am briefly going to go through those. These will be the last questions to update our home rule charter. As I said, there's 5 questions. Question number 1 has to do with the treasurer's position. The Monroeville Home Rule Charter amended to give the Monroeville Council the option of merging the duties of the elected tax collector with that of the municipal treasurer. Now, our Home Rule Charter has the municipal treasurer's position. Basically, it's not a position, it's a depository when relating to local governments, and usually that means it's a bank or a trust. A lot of municipalities may have a bank as their treasurer, and they come in and reconcile accounts, and that's in very smaller municipalities. The Home Rule Charter Committee and Council believe that the municipal treasurer should be an individual with qualifications to perform the financial duties of the position, somebody with a CPA or an MBA, or et cetera, and the council should have the option, this is an option, to appoint such a person in lieu of the elected tax collector at the end of his or her term, at which time the 2 positions would be combined. The Home Rule Charter Committee and Council are recommending a yes vote on this on question number 1. Question number 2 is in 4 parts, and it has to deal with contracts. The Monroeville Home Rule Charter Committee amended to reflect the Commonwealth purchasing laws with respect to, number 1, competitive bidding in the thresholds, number 2, exceptions to competitive bidding, number 3, the deletion of a 2-year term of a contract, and 4, unenforceable contracts. Back in 1974, when the Home Rule Charter was passed, the competitive bidding threshold was anything between $4,000 and $10,000 had to be a sealed bid. That was changed in 2011 under Act 90, where it was now it is up to $20,100. Over that amount, you have to have a sealed bid, and it increases pursuant to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. We have it right now in our Home Rule Charter that it's still what it was back in 1974. Although we are looking at right now, anytime we go out for competitive bid, it is under what the state law is. That's the first part of that. The second part is in conjunction with that as far as exceptions to competitive bidding, and that would be under $20,100. Now, in between $10,000 and $20,100, you have to get 3 telephonic quotes. And the same would hold true with respect to professional services such as attorneys and engineers. They do not have to have a competitive bidding, but they do have to have an RFP, and the RFP part of that is just our Home Rule Charter. That is not state law. The third part is the term of contracts. Right now, our Home Rule Charter states that we cannot enter into a contract more than 2 years. Well, that kind of hamstrings us a little bit, because if we can get into a contract that offers savings, and everybody can identify with this, the more you go into a contract, the cheaper it can become for commodities or anything else. I mean, now, we don't normally do that, but we would like to have that option in order to have savings for the taxpayers. Also, there's a provision, number 4, of unenforceable contracts. Now, if for some reason there would be staff or myself would send out a contract that would be illegal, in order to avoid litigation in conjunction with the solicitor, we should be able to pay that contract under ordinance in case it was for some reason an illegal contract. If I sent out and signed a contract that was illegal, either purposely or unintentionally, we should be able to resolve that issue in consultation with our solicitor, and that would be under ordinance. So the summary of those 3 parts of the contracts is the Home Rule Charter Committee and Municipal Council are recommending a yes vote on ballot question number 2. And just to interject, we have these on the website right now, And at all the polling places, like we have had the last 2 elections, we will have a whiteboard with a simple explanation, as simple as it can get, for all 5 of the questions. Question number 3 has to do with investigative, hearing, and subpoena powers. Right now, basically, it states that we cannot have any subpoena powers with out-of-state vendors. And the first part of this would change that, to amend that, and the second part would be to the current language of the Home Rule Charter states the effect that any party ignoring a subpoena shall pay a fine and possible imprisonment. Because the above parties, meaning the municipality, we may not have the authority to do that. To issue such fines in an imprisonment, the amended language follows applicable Commonwealth of Pennsylvania law. Okay, so that would follow the Pennsylvania law. So the summary of question number 3 would be the Home Rule Charter Committee and Municipal Council are recommending a yes vote on number 3 to update subpoena powers of the municipality, or the lack of the power they may not have on it. Question number 4 is that if you are appointed to council, right now it states in our Home Rule Charter that you have to run in the next non-municipal election year. Well, following state law, that would be that you have to run in the next municipal election or odd year coming up. So council is recommending a yes vote on that. Just to add to that, there's a second part to that. The same amended language would apply whenever 4 or more vacancies exist on council, which would be extremely rare, by which upon petition of the remaining members of council, any of the 5 electors, residents of the municipality being filed with the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County shall run in a special election in the next municipal election, not either municipal or non-municipal, but just municipal election following Commonwealth law. And council and the Home Rule, council and the solicitor is recommending a yes vote on that. And the final question has to deal with recall. Recall is the removal of any person of an elected office of the municipality at a recall election. And there are 2 reasons for this, is that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has ruled that recall is not permitted. And recall violates the Pennsylvania Constitution under certain provisions. So the Home Rule Charter Committee and the Municipal Council is recommending a yes vote on that and a yes vote on all 5 questions. If anybody has any questions that they want to talk to anybody, they're more than welcome to call me. My number is on the website. Can call me and ask me between now and November 6th with the general election if they have any specific questions, but this will be on the website. And that concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Little? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Little. Moving over to Mr. Hugus, anything for this evening? Ms. Rock? Seeing none. Very good. Mr. Arsinkel, we'll start with you.
I'm not feeling that good this evening. I guess I'm getting that little bug going around. I'll give a report on Tuesday, and with that, Mayor, with your permission, I'm going to exit.
Get out of here. Have a good night. Mr. Harvey?
Yes, several things, unfortunately, and I was hoping all of council would be here, but I wanted to report on and show the residents of a recent example that MS4 funds could have paid for. Joe, do you have those pictures?
We indeed are.
This is the first one, Raj.
We're not making a decision.
Yeah, there was a, we're just going to do this briefly. There was a storm sewer collapse down near the Edgemead Plan. You are seeing some pictures of it now. Engineering and myself were working diligently to get it rectified and get it corrected. It is not going to be an easy project. All of council has been communicated to from me, and as that develops, we'll keep you up to date. But right now, MS4 funds cannot pay for that. It's going to be quite the project because it's not implemented yet. So that's going to have to come out of regular borough budget. And what you see there is just a little tip of the iceberg of what we're going to have to do. Thanks, Joe. So the rest of council knows, we had some discussion earlier in the year, and I made a request that council authorize Chief Call to buy some digital radar speed limit warning signs that could be mounted to telephone poles. And me and him have had that discussion, and instead of, because they are a little bit pricey, he is going to buy 2 and enable them to be moved around to our different wards or districts, so we can get a better feel for the data they're going to provide, and of course, if they're working, before we buy one for every ward. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. I've had a talk with council, and I would like Mr. Little to put it on the agenda for Tuesday, to get council's official permission to offer a $500 scholarship or further education award to the Gateway Arts student that designs the new emblem for the MS4 department. This emblem will appear on the vehicles, shirts, hats, stationery, billing, and I have met with Mr. Short and the director of the art department, and they are both thrilled with the idea. During our meeting, I explained that I would need to meet a short time with the students to give them a brief education on MS4 so they had an idea of what they were entering into. I made about 10 copies of different designs from around the country just to maybe spark their imagination, and this would partially satisfy some of our public education and involvement requirements in our permit. So they have since called me and gave me a date that I can go up to the high school and meet with the art director and the students. During our meeting, we decided that the drawings would be numbered, and only the art director would be able to match the number to the student's name for judging purposes. We also decided that there would be 2 judges from the school board, 2 from municipal council, and the mayor, and I have since asked Mr. Arasenko and Mr. Poach if they would be judges, and they affirmed and said yes. So the school district has to pick the 2 from the school board, and of course I talked to Mayor Griesach, and he affirmed that he would be delighted to do that. So on Tuesday, I'm going to be making a motion to authorize the $500 for the grant. I was supposed to meet and attend a meeting with PennDOT tonight concerning a bridge project on Route 376. Instead, I called the engineer because I told him I had a council meeting, and I wanted to know which bridge they were talking about. And this is the bridge, if any of you, of course, drive to Pittsburgh, the bridge just before the Square Hole tunnels. Fortunately, they did talk to me because they didn't even think about the emergency vehicle access to the downtown hospitals. And I told them that was my only concern, was that the eastern suburbs send a lot of emergency vehicles, ambulances, that would cross that bridge and go through the tunnels to access downtown trauma centers and hospitals. And he said he would definitely bring that up at the meeting for me. So that was my comment towards that. Mr. Little brought up the other thing about the Federal Communications Commission. And the last thing is this is Fire Prevention Month. Please change your smoke detector batteries and your CO detector batteries, even if you don't think they need it. Get them changed.
Mr. Harvey, thank you very much. Mr. Poach.
And here I thought the meeting from PennDOT was just because of my complaining driving in the morning. I forgot to do that too. 2 quick items. One, I'll read the letter. On Tuesday, we did receive, the council received notification from Civil Service Commission regarding appointment, the examination they had for Chief Cole, and he passed it and was accepted through that as well. So we'll put that into the record on Tuesday. And finally, I probably could have done this a little earlier when Pam was here from the library, just to let the rest of folks in council know. Myself and the mayor signed a letter and authored to the State Library Association to try to facilitate Monroeville's application to hold that conference here. And they've also spoken with the Visiting Conventions Bureau. It's a number of people from across the whole state to be able to attend that conference here. So hopefully they'll have some good news on that as well. Other than that, that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Poach. And just a correction from earlier, actually, just to clarify, earlier from the rezoning of the, on Logan's Ferry Road, a resident handed a letter in, an email, a letter in that wanted to be placed into the record. All of council received that electronically and also a hard copy. And Sharon, I'll be giving you a letter for the record as well. We have a meeting in 2 weeks from tonight for our Monroeville Active Transportation Plan. Joe, if you have the flyer there. 7 p.m., right in this council chambers, Thursday, October 18th. Like I said, 2 weeks from this evening, our Monroeville Active Transportation Plan to share your ideas on plans to improve walking, biking, and hiking in Monroeville. The Active Transportation Committee has been meeting regularly for several months. This is a branch of the joint comprehensive plan that we completed with Wilkins Township and Churchill. And what this committee is just trying to do is find ways to make pedestrian access in Monroeville better where we can. So come out and share some ideas with and see what the committee's been working on. And it'll be the first of many discussions on this matter. But that is 2 weeks from tonight, 7 p.m., Thursday, October 18th, 2018. Thanks, Joe. Halloween night trick-or-treating. It'll be on Wednesday, October 31st, actually on Halloween evening, as we typically do, from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. We're going to keep that consistent. So that's on Halloween night trick-or-treating, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. All this information will be on the municipal website. And then lastly, I would like to wish my wife a happy 15-year anniversary. Maybe it's more of a thank you for putting up with me and for making me a better person. And I love her dearly. So with that, I would like to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.